here we go. The video today is going to be recorded. So if anyone has to leave early, or if anyone wants to get a copy of it afterwards, then you will be able to get a copy of the video, which we will upload to YouTube. However, no one here is going to appear on video, so don't worry if you're in pajamas. For all you know, I could be on my pajama bottoms right now. I'm not. Then you're not going to be on video. Mute is on, so we're not going to be able to hear your audio. If you have questions, please do not submit them in chat. We get lots of chat messages. It's hard to track. Please submit your questions in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. By the way, in August, in a little over a month, we are going to have a special Q&A session all about technology and all about products and all about different product-related changes. So if your questions are detailed questions around products and technology, then save them up, come to the one in August, and you're going to learn more there. And as always, closed captioning is available. We're at close to now 500 people. We are going to get started now. My name is David Siegel. I'm the CEO of Meetup, and I'm almost at my 5-year anniversary of being the CEO. Speaking of anniversaries, Meetup is actually 21 years old this past June. It was founded in June of 2002, but it was conceived on September 11th of 2001. And for all of those who don't know, the reason for Meetup happened was because our founder, Scott Heiferman, who I actually just had lunch with last week, and he's better than ever for any of those who know Scott. Our founder, Scott Heiferman, was in his apartment building, and he was in a state of shock on September 11th, just like so many others were in a state of shock at that particular time. And everyone just felt that they needed community. They needed to be with someone. He met people that he never would have met beforehand. And one person after another person started just saying to each other, it shouldn't take community. It shouldn't take tragedy to help us to build community. How do we build community outside of tragedy? And he conceived of Meetup. He went back to his apartment. This is the original whiteboard of the concept that he had drawn up about Meetup would be different topics and different towns and different cities. And here we are today with 62 million members worldwide at Meetup, 260,000 different groups in 190 different countries, including lots of countries that we shared. I think we're in every country besides North Korea, in over 10,000 cities around the world with over 100,000 events. I want to do two parts of today's conversation. The first is talk about community and why community is so important. And the second part is I'm going to talk about what is Meetup doing, what did we do, and what are we doing, and it'll help to drive community so you can have a better idea of what our focus has been over the last 6 months, now that we're mid-year, and what our focus is going to be over the next 6 months. And then I'm going to take questions at the end. We'll have plenty of time, don't you worry. So here we go. I'm going to share the top 10 reasons of why community is so important as a reminder to us all. Though so many of us are so deeply entrenched in community, we know it, but here's a little bit of a refresher. Number 10, and the reason why community is so important is the loneliness epidemic that exists. You may have heard about the Surgeon General's report. It's a very detailed report with incredibly troubling data and statistics around the epidemic of loneliness, which in many ways is actually even more dangerous than the epidemic that we just went through. 46% of people, not sometimes, not occasionally, but regularly feel lonely. And among people who are in the youngest of ages, people who are in the 18 to 24-year-old, 23-year-old, 25-year-old ages, those people feel the loneliness. Those people, 62% of them, feel lonely on a regular basis. The younger the people are, oftentimes the largest cities that people are in, the greater the loneliness. And that's why community is so important. This is some snippets from the Surgeon General report that you may have not heard, but I just want to share some of this data with you. And the full data, I encourage you to check out the Surgeon General report. If someone from our Meetup team could actually just put the Surgeon General report in chat for people to access, that would be great. That way anyone could take a look at it. Social isolation. Look at that big spike. Is at 24 hours per month. People who are just separated from other people. Disengagement from family, which is just so important as part of community, is down 5 hours per month over the last close to 20 years. Amount of companionship that people have. Again, consistent decreases over close to the last 20 years, with it accelerating as well in terms of connections. The first reason why community is so important is, of course, the loneliness epidemic that exists. The number 9 reason, we'll go 10 to 1. We're going to do it quickly because I want to get to what Meetup is doing about it. Number 9 is leadership, is why community is so important. There's a fellow, he's an incredible individual. He may be even on right now as we speak, Omar Acosta, who was an incredible Meetup organizer. He was an introvert. He is an introvert, I should say. He was afraid of going out and meeting lots of different people. He loved spending most of his time playing video games, and he didn't have community, and he certainly wasn't a leader. He was coaxed into finally going out of his comfort zone to go to a rock climbing meetup group, and he went from a member to the organizer leaving after a year and asking him if he could step up and become a leader of the group. He did. He's had over 800-900 events since he's stepped up as an organizer, which is absolutely amazing. And there are 6 marriages that have come out of his group. But the most important thing is what it did for him as an organizer. Leadership can be built through community. And for all those individuals that feel like they can never be a leader, community can help to drive leadership. So we have loneliness, why community is so important, and also leadership of why community is so helpful. Finding a new job. And I remember I met an organizer and he told me he has 2 meetup groups. One of them is a bowling group, which he has because he loves bowling and socializing. And one of them is a career networking group. And his last 2 jobs he got from his bowling group. It's amazing how community can help to drive new jobs. And I'm sure that there are people on this call that have gotten their jobs because of community. And I'm also sure there are people on this webinar that have gotten their jobs because of Meetup. Finding a new job is a great way to have to happen is through community. Mental health and mental health support. There's a QR code on the right-hand side with a plethora of resources we have around mental health. Pick up your phone if you'd like, and you can just scan the QR code on the right-hand side if you want to get direct access. We saw a significant growth in the number of people RSVPing to support groups, especially during the pandemic times, and it continues to grow. Community is the helpful antidote around people that are challenged with mental health, which, by the way, is probably many people, if not most people, in today's world. Learning is another important value of community. We recently had an event, Intro to ChatGPT, and we have many of these types of events, and you go to different events as well. 90% of Meetup individuals, members, said that they increased their knowledge and skills because of Meetup. You want to learn a new programming language, you want to learn Hebrew in China, you want to learn Chinese in Israel, there's probably a Meetup group that could help you to learn and to grow. And that happens not because of Meetup, it happens because of community. It happens because of organizers like each of you who are so dedicated in helping other people. Number 5 reasons. We've gone through 5. Here's the next half of the reasons why community is so important to helping people. And then we're going to go directly into how is Meetup helping to facilitate this. Number 5 is growing your business. So Flatiron School is a school to help people learn data science, learn machine learning, learn engineering. The number 1 source for their new students is actually Meetup. They run tons and tons of different Meetup events to help them to grow their business. Coinbase, the founder, was quoted as saying that one of the reasons why he grew his business was because he went from one Meetup event to another Meetup event, helped to find clients, etc. Whether it's GDG, Google Developer Groups, or Microsoft, many of these organizations use Meetup to help to grow their business, to grow revenue. If you own a yoga studio, Pilates studio, you name it, those are ways that Meetup and community can help you. Finding your life partner, a very close friend of mine and also Meetup employee found his life partner through playing softball. And, we obviously have many dating event-related events that community can facilitate also, but any hiking event can potentially help. Community can drive who you end up spending potentially the rest of your life with. And that's another benefit of community in terms of finding that special someone. 3 reasons left of why community is so important, just as a reminder to everyone. when you're traveling and you don't necessarily know anyone there. So my son and I were actually recently traveling in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I'm here from North Carolina, give it up. And we didn't know what to do one evening. And I said to him, what do you want to do? And he said, hey, why don't we check what's going on Meetup? And that could be a fun way to find some fun things to do while we're traveling. And we went to a board game meetup group and met like 5 new people, and we had the greatest time. I was in Venice, Italy with my wife. She had enough of me. She's like, okay, she needs a little bit of time to do something. And I'm like, what do I do right now? So I went on Meetup, and I found that happened to have been a Meetup run that was happening. I started running around Venice, Italy with a group of people, and that was one of the highlights of my vacation. So whether it's travel or whether someone's an expat and has moved to a new city and wants to meet new people and has relocated, travel relocation is another really important reason behind community and how community can help you. The last 2 that I just want to share around why community is so helpful and so important. Accountability. So I remember speaking of Scott earlier, the founder of Meetup. He spent a day with me going from Meetup to Meetup event before I joined, roughly actually 5 years ago now. And one of the things we did is we went to a Meetup event where there were 10 individuals that met every day, 5 days a week, who were all working on their PhDs. They didn't want to work by themselves, but they work on PhDs in history and philosophy and technology and you name it, complete variety of different subjects, many of which had nothing to do with one another, but they wanted to hold each other accountable, and they wanted an accountability partner. That's where so many support groups are very helpful, and that's where community can be incredibly helpful in accountability and building that accountability for others. Finally, the last, and I might even say the most important reason of why community is so important is friendship. The number one reason why people search on Meetup, the number one term in 2018, 5 years ago, was hiking. The number 2 was tech. 2019, hiking and tech were the 2 biggest reasons why people looked on Meetup, and then book clubs, etc. Today and last year, friends has overtaken them all. Finding adult friends, finding friends is the number one reason why people want community, why they build community, and why so many of you use Meetup. So that's a little bit of a reminder to me and to each of you of the great work that so many of you organizers do, and people who aren't organizers, so many people who are attending Meetup events do, in terms of why community is so important to people's lives. And I'm really appreciative to the almost 700 people so far that are already on this webinar to hear that. Now and there's a quick summary of the 10: loneliness, helping people become leaders, helping people find a new job, helping with mental health and support. Community is so important to help people to learn, grow your business, finding that special someone, around travel, expats, being in a new place, around driving accountability for yourself, and finally around friendship. Great. So what is Meetup doing, and how are we doing in terms of driving connections and community? Let's look at some data. This is a little bit of hard to read graph, so I'll just explain to everyone. We have around, this month of June will be the highest number of registrations we have ever had since the pandemic. We'll have close to 483,000 people who have registered on Meetup, because after people register, then they RSVP to an event and then they show up. So we have close to 500,000 registrations. That's up around 8% year over year. And you can look to the left hand, the blue line is kind of up and to the right, in terms of the number of people registering on Meetup. RSVPs, people RSVPing on Meetup, the number of people RSVPing, RSVPers, RSVPs, also up 5–10% over the last year, which is so important, obviously, because when people register, when people RSVP, that helps them to join your events, to join your groups, and to be part of your community. Daily active users is an important metric for any web business or platform or app-based platform, of which we are, of course, both. There we're seeing significant growth in terms of the number of people who are active users of Meetup. We're actually up 40%. And I think a little bit of that is due to the pandemic, really, obviously, evolving and ending in many ways. Are certainly the very slowing down significantly, and more and more people are now using Meetup. And the last, which is pretty remarkable, is the number of people downloading our apps is over double the number of people that it was just a couple of years ago. So app downloads is up about 20%. We're seeing significant growth in number of people downloading our app, registering, and all that is meant to help to drive more people to show up to your event. So the things that we are doing at Meetup to help to drive more people to RSVP to your events, to join your groups are the following. Number one, it starts off with trying to get more traffic to meetup.com's website or to people downloading the app. When you create more content, that helps the Google bots and search engine optimization cause more people to then come to Meetup, which cause more people to then register and then obviously attend your events. One of the keys to us being successful in that is making our pages much faster. It's called performance for those that are not familiar with it, page performance. We track that, we work on it, and that helps to drive more people to come to meetup.com, to help to join your groups. Very, very important. But traffic just to show up doesn't help us. We need to turn the traffic into people who are actually registering on Meetup. So we have all these different additional calls to action to get people who visit to now register. But the reality is registering on Meetup isn't important enough. We need to get people that register to then attend events. And we're building a new onboarding flow for new members. We're changing a lot of our data science and machine learning to recommend events in a smarter way based on what people's specific interests are to drive more RSVPs. Here's an example of just a couple of things that we did, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to be doing. So you can see on the right-hand side, on the bottom right, total web registrations, the yellow, taking it as a big jump up. And part of that is just small little actions that we do by putting in the top navigation on our website a call to action to search for events. That had a material impact, and having more calls to action to join Meetup resulted in 13% increase in number of people registering. Small little changes on our website and our apps can have a big impact in helping to get more people to come to your events and to join your groups. We launched something called app clips. If you're not sure what app clips are, perfectly understandable. Google what app clips are. It's a little complicated, so I'm not going to go into the exact details of it. It has to do with if someone gets an event and they don't have the app downloaded. But we launched something called app clips on iOS, which is people with an Apple iPhone. And we saw over 14,000 people ended up downloading the app through this. When people download the app, they then attend more Meetup events. Because one of the most important things we know is getting more and more people and the right people to attend your groups and your event. The other thing we made a massive change in is what happens when a new member kind of joins Meetup. And what we're doing is we're creating a much more personalized experience so that if someone joins Meetup, then two different people join Meetup, they get two very different experiences based on information that we learn about them. So on the left-hand side where it says control is what we used to do. We kind of treated everyone the same. It wasn't meaningful differences. I don't expect you to read this, by the way. On the right-hand side, it's a workflow to talk about how we massively change how we treat you based on learning more information about you. That's resulted in 7% or more people RSVPing to Meetup events, results in another 430,000. We didn't go more. We don't care about the RSVP. We care about people showing up ultimately to your event. So let's talk about what's coming up next now at Meetup, because I'm sure you're hopefully interested. We are launching a new homepage on Meetup, and we're really excited about it. Our homepage, I think, has been pretty static and stale for a couple of years, frankly. It's going to be a lot more engaging. There's going to be many more different calls to action to get people to register. It's the logged out homepage, meaning people who are not logged in. And you're going to see a total redesign of the homepage, and that's actually going to happen next month. You're going to see a new homepage on Meetup. There's some screenshots of what it's going to look like. It's very hard to tell from the screenshots, but I'm very excited about it's a lot more engaging and experience than the current homepage that we have right now. The other thing we're doing is if anyone has used a dating app or any other apps where that use the swiping feature, swiping left, swiping right, we're actually going to be implementing that. Not for dating, don't worry, though there is dating that occurs on our site, and we're very supportive of that because that's a part of community. It's for helping helping people to find the right events for them. So if someone sees an event and swipes right that they're interested, or they swipe left that they're not interested, we now could have more information to get that person to the right events. There's so many events, hundreds of thousands of events happening each week on Meetup. The key is to help someone to find that right event for them. So we're going to now know a lot more information about people by making it really easy to see what their interests are. And as we implement this new type of functionality, again, that's happening also this summer. Okay, driving success for every organizer is critical. We've talked in the past about the ability for you as an organizer to get tips from your members. Just in this calendar year, just in the last 6 months, over $140,000 has gone to organizers in the form of people tipping the organizer as a thank you. And by the way, last year was another over $100,000. So it's close to $250,000 this year. I can't wait for it to be over $1 million sometime next year, we believe. And our organizers work so hard, and we want our organizers to be able to just get a thank you and a tip. Average tip is about $18. If someone's an organizer and they're interested in the US only right now, unfortunately, it's only in the US right now. We're working with a third-party integrate partner, and unfortunately, they only are in the US. That's the only reason why. I hate that this is the case, and we're trying to find a solution for outside the US, I promise. But if you're an organizer in the United States and you're not set up to be able to get thank you tips, then on the left-hand side, you can scan that QR code and it'll lead you directly to be able to get set that up for your group. We also implemented a new chat feature, and for those people who prefer to use the old comments feature, they still have that capability. And there's been close to 2 million messages, which is pretty amazing, on chat that's been sent out. And some of them that I look at are just really helpful. You know, if you're on a hike and you're not sure where to go, you're not sure where to meet people, there's been, over 500,000 chats now that have happened just the other day. There'll be over 1 million chats, in this year. And that communication between our members and organizers is so important. We want to continue to grow them. We have an organizer app. Any organizers who don't know that we have an organizer app, we do. It has a very strong ratings, a 4.5 and a 4.3 or so on Android and iOS. We have 192,000 different members have checked in. It has some special features on the organizer app that you cannot get on the member app, like the ability to check people in, as you can see that on the little image on the right-hand side. And there's just a number of different features that our organizers take advantage of. The top 4 being able to much more easily, efficiently edit different event locations, view attendee lists, change the event times, and of course, check in members at an event as well. And the next organizer item that I wanted to mention to help organizers is our organizer community. One of the things that's so beautiful to me is how organizers look, not just help their members, to help other organizers and mentor other organizers. It's just such a beautiful thing. We have a Discord community for organizers to learn from other organizers that this time last year, I think was like 500 people. It's now at over 4,000 organizers and growing. By this time next year, we'll be at over 10,000 organizers, no doubt. These are people who just want to ask questions and learn about how they could be more effective and better organizers. And I want to encourage everyone to join our Discord community. There's a QR code for that. If you want to find a way to get mentored and to get help and to ask questions of other organizers, it's a great way to learn from each other, which is such an important part of community. I heard this ChatGPT thing is kind of important. So, as a CEO, #1 question I think that I always get is, how are you using ChatGPT to actually, help your company? And we have a number of different things that we're doing. This is currently one that is actually rolling out. Also, we wanted to share things that are all rolling out just in this next month. Many more things are rolling out later on. But we're doing a test that will allow people, we got already approval from ChatGPT, so we already have it set up that instead of having to write a full group description, if someone becomes, because that could be a daunting task, you click a little button and it will generate a description based on a couple of keywords that you put in. We then obviously want to do that on events. So like if you have a book club related to murder mystery and it's for LGBTQ plus community, then you could type in those 3 words or 6 words, whatever, and it will generate a group description. And in the future, we're looking to help to generate event descriptions as well. So we want to make it easy for everyone to create these group descriptions and event descriptions, and ChatGPT is going to be embedded directly into Meetup, so we're able to enable people to do that. So watch out for that coming up soon. Accessibility and making sure that Meetup is available for everyone and anyone. We're going to be wrapping up in 2 or 3 minutes. So have your questions ready and put any questions you have in the Q&A, please, during this time. Accessibility is so important that we want to make sure that we uphold all of our standards. So we're modifying our colors, our operability, our text ratios, all the different things to make sure that anyone who is vision impaired has just as good an experience on Meetup that someone who is well sighted has. So we've made a lot of changes from the accessibility perspective. Last couple of things I wanted to share, and please, if you have any questions, put them into chat, and then I'm going to answer those questions over the last 10 to 15 minutes. Last couple of slides here is around helping organizers become more intelligent around what's working and what's not working in their groups. It's so important to learn from what people like, what things might have gone wrong. And we wanted to enable you to have as much feedback as possible around what's working and what's not working. So we're also going to be rolling out very shortly. You're going to see it, and we've already rolled this out, but we're expanding upon it to making it much more an engaged experience so that everyone can learn about how they could become better organizers, how they can make things better and improve their experiences. That intelligence is so important because then it's a win for all your members, win for other organizers, and we want to give you the ability to get tremendous feedback about the experience. Okay. We launched something called Member Plus. Some of you may have heard about it, but what you may not know is that Member Plus members are 5 times more likely to RSVP than a non-Member Plus member, and close to 8x, 7.7 times more likely to attend event with people of a shared interest. So what we did is we're giving Member Plus members the ability to learn more about the event and the group in terms of how many people are first-time members, what the age ranges are for people, what the interests are around people. There's an event coming up July 13th. If you want to learn more and more about Member Plus, you can, but the numbers are really skyrocketing in terms of the people who are becoming Member Plus subscribers. I encourage you to learn more about it. And if you're an organizer and you're wondering what this Member Plus thing is, well, what it ultimately does is it gets more people to come to your events, and it gets more people to RSVP because they're paying a fee, and that fee causes them to want to be more engaged as well. Just part of general psychology. Last couple really over here is Pro Team is launching hybrid events and a much more extensive hybrid event solution in early August, late July. We put a lot of time and energy into interviewing tons and tons of different organizers to understand what are the top priorities for each of them. And one of them is hybrid events. We run many hybrid events at Meetup, in person and remote. And that's one of the things that I wanted to highlight is our focus on building hybrid events, because it's just part of our future, no doubt. And the absolute last slide, and then I'll take questions, is just the importance, like we said beforehand, in terms of building community to fight the loneliness epidemic. We know how important and challenging mental health is. We know what the Surgeon General has said, that we've become a lonely nation and it's time to fix that. That article, in the New York Times had close to, 200 million people looking at that article. I've been publishing different blogs and stories regarding the importance of community, and loneliness. And each of you play a meaningful role in ending the loneliness epidemic. Please, if you want to contact me, send me an email to david@meetup.com, and absolutely send me a LinkedIn invite. I love getting closely connected. You'll find me easily, David Siegel, Siegel, and CEO of Meetup on LinkedIn. Send me a LinkedIn invite. I would love to connect with each of you so that we can continue any kind of conversations as well. We are now going to go, we'll leave this on slide on here. We're going to go to the Q&A section right now. And let's go to I have a bunch of questions, and hopefully we have time for many more. First question that's over here that I'm looking at is from Anonymous. Hello, Anonymous. Is Meetup ever going to kill off all the groups that haven't posted events in years? Great, great question. So on Meetup, there are groups that are continuing to be Meetup groups, but they haven't had an event in a long time. One of the things that we're doing is we have updated our algorithm in terms of recommending groups to join and we're now doing a much stronger job of actually getting people to join groups that are active groups. So our general goal is when someone joins, we don't want them to go into a group that doesn't have events. We want them going to groups that do have events. And let me add as well, if there is a group that recently joined and has an event planned and has below a certain threshold of members of their group, we actually keep introducing that new group out there in order to get more and more people to join, because we want to make sure there's a critical enough mass of people, and that comes at the expense of groups that don't have events. So we're very highly focused on groups that are active, on groups that have events, and we're not going to just kill them, because a lot of people want to keep the groups that are still alive there for communication reasons or because they're going to come back. But we don't want to kill them. We just want to not have them be emphasized and be de-emphasized, groups that are not really active, because we want more people going to active groups. So thank you, Mr. or Mrs. or Ms. Anonymous, for that question. Lisa has a question. Here we go, Lisa. I'm looking at the question right now. Hopefully I'll have a quick answer. Will the new design of the homepage, I presume, make it easier to get into Meetup that we are registering for? The answer is yes. One of the primary goals of the new design is to make it a lot faster and easier to join a group and to attend an event. One of the things we're doing is making it speedier to do so and having fewer numbers of, ideally, steps that you have to go through in that process. We want to have a few steps because it's important to learn a little bit about you, learn about what your interests are, and do that. But we don't want to have so many steps that it's overly onerous, overly difficult to do that. So that is one of our goals. It may not be in the first phase one, but it will definitely be in an upcoming phase. So thank you, Lisa, for asking that. Okay, next to Susan R. Thank you for asking. Let's see what we got here. Will the new website redesign make it easier to find all these amazing resources? Thank you. I think they're amazing as well. Sometimes I find it hard to navigate through Meetup's web pages. Yeah, the content challenge is vast at Meetup, and our search tools are definitely not as strong as they need to be. So I think there's two steps, Susan, to things that we're focusing on. One is to make our search a lot better than it is today, and there's been a lot of work in terms of our search to make it still not as good as we need it to be, but it's definitely better than it was to help to navigate and find the right Meetup events on web pages and in the apps, etc. The second is what you said, which is how can we make it easier to browse and click through and find the right events? The biggest answer to that, Susan, is personalization and customization. What I mean by that is I want the events that you are most interested in to be screaming from the hilltops and right in front of your face and really easy for you to see. And I want you to see different ones than me, different ones than my son, different ones than my mother, and we're all seeing different things, because what that does is it's just like, you know, any other sites do, whether it's other social media sites that help to drive to get the right content in front of a person, because content is unwieldy. So we have to try to help to learn more about you, to help you to find the right thing. So it's definitely a primary focus, Susan. Thank you. Sophia, Sophia Ballesteri, thank you for asking. Sophia, can you say more about your hybrid event model? What does that mean specifically? Okay. So heretofore, in order to create a hybrid event on Meetup, you really have to create two separate events. One event is an in-person event, and a separate event is an online event, and you have to coordinate them to have the same information. And the RSVPs would be different RSVPs to each of those two events. It's very inefficient, it's very unwieldy, and frankly, it's just not a great experience. What we're doing is we're creating it, making it much easier for someone that wants to create a hybrid event to be able to have one event where they could see all their information for both people who are participating online, people who are participating in person. The tools, the administrative tools are also then easier. You could post information all to into one place as opposed to having to post it to multiple places. And then when you have follow-up afterwards, you'll know which people came in online, which people were there in person, and you're able to follow up with them accordingly as well. There's a whole lot of work in the planning, in the actual execution of the event, and then the follow-up after the event to make sure that this whole hybrid event works really well. And that's where we're putting a lot of engineering time and energy and effort into creating a much better hybrid event experience. So Sophia, thank you for asking that question. Okay. I think it's actually about time to wrap up. And really what I want to do more than anything is to say thank you. The two most important words in the English language, and for all of you, who are from other countries, thank you for dialing in at either very early in the day or very late at night. It's not easy. It shows your dedication to Meetup, to be able to call in when, I'm not sure exactly what time it is in Europe, but it's certainly much later in different time zones in Europe. Certainly in Asia, it could be very, very early in the morning or the middle of the night. And more than anything, I just want to thank every single person, because it is because of each of you that you have driven community that ultimately, as a reminder, helps to end loneliness in the world, helps people have more leadership, helps people find new jobs, helps people around mental health related issues, helps people learn and grow, helps people grow their businesses, helps people find their significant others, helps people in travel when they're in other cities and other countries, drives accountability, and most importantly of all, builds friendship. Thank you. Thank you sincerely to every person here. Thank you for being part of our community at Meetup. We hope that you're here for a long time, and we hope you continue to gain, and hopefully you got a little bit of extra information about what we're doing to help to drive RSVPs, help to drive show-ups, and help to support our organizers and our members. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the day. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.